Yo, what's up, everybody out there? Another music class, 30 lessons in 30 days. I'm looking at my quote over here, and it's looking like I have to upload 4 lessons a day for the next 4 days in order to hit it correctly. I think I started on the 25th of March, but we're back here. We might do like 30 lessons in 33 days or something like that, but I'm going to try to get out 2 or 3 today, try to explain some stuff. So, welcome to the channel. Steven is my name, Know Nothing Music. Let's get right into it. We'll add this to the playlist, but this is a exercise that I kind of developed on my own, but if you want to study jazz or if you want to get good at music theory, learning your 2-5-1s is a very important thing. If you look in a jazz real book, if you look in one of these jazz books that people use, there's a lot of 2-5-1 chord progressions. So just to be clear, we're going to be talking about this exercise on the 7th chord level today, but you can also just take the 7th off of it and practice your major, minor, not your triads, I should say. But let's get into it right here. It's called 2-5-1-1. The reason this exercise is called that is because it plays the 2 chord, then the 5 chord, then the 1 chord, then the 1 chord again in a certain key. So, putting it in this order is something I developed on my own. People might have done it before me, but what the goal of this exercise is today is going to be doing your 2-5-1s in every single key. So let's just get into it. And I'm not going to write the entire thing out because eventually what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to memorize the pattern, and I'll show you the pattern today. But it's actually a 12 stanza or 12 line exercise. And just before we get into what the whole thing is, the point of this, we've covered chunking before in classes, and the point of this is not to start from the beginning and go through line 12 over and over and over, because you're not going to be as good or as bad at each line. So, you're going to start out in the key of C, and you're going to be pretty decent at that pretty quick. I mean, you're going to be decent enough at the one you start on just because you've started over many times. So my point about chunking this is sometimes you're going to want to get good at 1 line at a time. Sometimes you're going to want to get good at 2 lines at a time. But the point is to master this whole thing through chunking. And after you do that, you'll be able to get through the whole thing in a row. Like I can do that right now. I'm good at my 2-5-1s in all keys. But let's just, instead of me just kind of prefacing the whole thing, let's actually show you what it is right now. We're going to start off in the key of C, but it doesn't matter if you start out in the key of C. You can start off in the key of whatever you want. You play the 2 chord in that key. So we're in the key of C, the 2 chord, and again, I'm assuming you've seen the earlier videos before on how to create chords and how to, and 7th chord harmonization, but you're going to play the 2 chord in the key of C, which is D minor 7. You're going to play the 5 chord in the key of C, which is G dominant 7. And then you're going to play C major 7 twice in a row, which is the 1 chord in the key of C. Now, you're going to go to the next line after that, and the C major 7 is going to become a C minor 7, which is the 2 chord in the key of B flat. So just to show you a quick little bit of one of the patterns, with each subsequent line, you're going to do a 2-5-1-1 in the key down a whole step. So you got C major 7 twice in a row. It becomes a C minor 7, which is the 2 chord in the key of B flat. You're going to go to the 5 chord in the key of B flat. Then you're going to go to the 1 chord twice in a row in the key of B flat. Then this B flat major 7 becomes a B flat minor 7, and we're not going to write the whole thing out, but it just goes 2-5-1-1 in the key of A flat. Then it goes 2-5-1-1 in the key of G flat. The 1 chord becomes the 2 chord of the next key by simply becoming a minor 7. 2-5-1-1 in the key of E. 2-5-1-1 in the key of D. Now, if you look at what happens here, what is a whole step below D? It's C. So at that point, you're going to kind of, it's going to cycle itself back to the beginning of the whole thing. But again, this is not a song. This is a pattern that is in a bunch of different songs. So if you want, you can get good at these 6 lines, you can chunk it that way. I don't recommend doing 6 lines at once. I recommend getting good at 1 or 2 lines, sometimes 3 lines at a time, and chunking that way. But just know that if you've gotten through this 6 stanza cycle, it's hard to say, you've gone from full circle from C, B flat, A flat, G flat, E, D, and that comes full circle to C. Now, if it's come full circle, you might think that you've hit all your chords and all keys, but you haven't. If you look at it here during this whole thing, I mean, I haven't written the whole thing out, but there's no D sharp minor 7 in this cycle. There's no G sharp dominant 7. What you have to do is you have to get good at the whole thing up a half step. So it says at the bottom, master a half step up for all keys. So you'll be going through, so let me just tell you, kind of walk you through verbally the whole thing. You're in the key of C, 2-5-1, B flat, A flat, G flat, E, D. Then you're in the key of C sharp, B, A. Why can't I think of it right now? G. Then you're in the key of F. Then you're in the key of D sharp. And that you're going to get through all of them. And that is every single minor 7 chord, every single dominant 7 chord, every single major 7 chord. There's still other 7th chords that you can get good at, but the reason for this exercise here is to get you good at your 2-5-1s in all 12 keys, and that is a thing. That pattern is the chord progression that comes up the most in jazz music. And I've said before that the reason you should learn jazz, and we might even do a standalone video on this one, the reason you should learn jazz with a pop influence, is not because necessarily you enjoy jazz. I enjoy jazz. I enjoy playing other styles of music more. But what jazz is the most complicated pop music. And what that's going to teach you to do. Now, jazzers will probably bite my head off for saying that, because like free jazz, like really complex jazz, like bebop, is not really pop music, but they use those types of chords in pop music, and it'll get you good at triads with an extra note. I mean, you can just take the extra note away with the 7th chord, and you're playing pop, rock, whatever music. Of course, there's a lot of things in jazz that don't get played in other styles. And there are a lot of things in other styles that don't get played in jazz. But the reason I want my students, and the reason I learned jazz, was because it is the hardest pop music. I mean, a lot of these old jazz standards were old vocal pop songs from the 20s and 30s and stuff like that. But yeah, there you have it. It's a 2-5-1-1 exercise. I mean, it's not even a 2-5-1. It is the 2-5-1 exercise, in that you're getting good at your 2-5-1s in all 12 keys. You're in the key of C, 2-5-1. And the pattern becomes the 2-5-1 in the key a whole step down. You repeat across 6 different lines or stanzas, and then you do the whole thing up a half step to hit all 12 keys. Remember, you're not being very efficient if you do this from the beginning through 6 lines, or from the beginning through 12 lines. That's not an efficient use of your time. What you're going to want to do is get good at 1 line or 2 lines at once, and use chunking, a principle we've covered before, to try to get good at this. But yeah, 2-5-1, practice it, all keys. You'll be good at music in no time. Thanks, and have a good day.